Good evening. This is Veterans Day, Tuesday, November 11th, 70 days until the inauguration of President-elect Barack Obama. It was he who reminded the country we only have one president at a time. So what happens if, on a vital point of economy policy, the one who is but not for long and the one who isn't but soon will be disagree? Our fifth story in the countdown, with the auto industry now in as bad, if not worse shape than Wall Street. Will it get a bailout in time if the Bush-Obama vote is not unanimous? Smiling and waving, probably not enough in the 2+ months until the president-elect takes the oath. General Motors having warned a few days ago that it is running out of cash. Ford having released a dismal financial report with about 1 in 10 jobs in this country tied to the auto industry. Mr. Obama making the case to the president in the Oval Office yesterday that something needs to be done immediately. Speaker Nancy Pelosi today announcing plans to present Congress with legislation aimed at keeping the big three automakers from running out of gas. At an off-camera news briefing, Obama Transition Chief John Podesta today dismissing reports that President Bush wanted something in return for helping out the auto industry, a trade deal with Colombia. Mr. Podesta calling those reports inaccurate. This Veterans Day morning in Chicago, the president-elect laying a wreath to honor the nation's fallen heroes. At his side, Tammy Duckworth, director of the Illinois Department of Veterans Affairs, a woman who herself lost both her legs in Iraq. The president earlier tonight on CNN describing the atmosphere of his Oval Office meeting with Mr. Obama as relaxed, wishing him all the best when he assumes that office.
I am just as American as he is American. And it is good for our country that the president succeeds. And so the transition that we're working with him on is a genuine effort to help him be able to deal with the pressures and the complicated issues of the presidency.
Time now to call in our own Howard Fineman, senior Washington correspondent for Newsweek magazine. Howard, good evening.
Hi, Keith.
Did the president and the president-elect actually disagree on a Detroit bailout, and if so, how seriously?
They did disagree, and it is serious. It's a matter of philosophy. George Bush is running the administration in the last weeks, the administration that let Lehman Brothers go, which accelerated the collapse of credit markets around the world. People around George Bush are questioning whether it would be a case of throwing good money after bad to try to help prop up the big three automakers. But Barack Obama sees things entirely differently. Jennifer Granholm, the governor of Michigan, is a close advisor. A lot of people at that financial and economic confab that Obama had the other day in Chicago were warning him that he can't let the American automakers go down. They used to account for 3/4 of all the cars made and sold in the United States. It's now down to about half. But as you were saying, it's a huge, huge part of the American economy. And Obama actually sees a retooled auto industry, a remade, retooled auto industry, as one of the keys to the America's economic future if he can get them to turn green and help them do so. So it's a big philosophical difference between the outgoing and the incoming presidents.
But now there's been a recent study that said the numbers of jobs lost if just one of the big three goes under would be 2.5 million. To turn what a senior Democratic aide said today and rephrase it in the form of a question, does this president want to add the demise of GM to his legacy list?
Gee, I think he's got a long list as it is now. And I do think it is a matter of philosophy with the president. He's going to dare Congress to try to do something in the lame duck session further to help the auto industry, or there's a lot of talk of taking, kind of reprogramming a bunch of the money out of that $700 billion bank and credit bailout and make that available to the auto companies. If Obama can get that out of the lame duck session, he'll be glad to get it. If not, that'll also be at the top of his list, along with a general jobs measure on the day he is sworn in as president.
Let me run some of these other transitional headlines past you. Where is No Drama Obama and Joe Lieberman? Where do they stand right now?
Well, I think that's moving in the Lieberman direction. Senator Dick Durbin is a key factor there. And I think he's moving toward allowing Lieberman to stay. Dick Durbin was somebody who was extremely angry at Lieberman for campaigning for John McCain. But I'm now told, after having gone through a horrible week or so where he was mourning the death of his 40-year-old daughter to congenital heart disease, He's come out of that and looked around and also heard what Barack Obama's had to say, and Durbin is now saying he's willing to give Lieberman a chance. I think that's going to go to a vote next week, but I bet you that Lieberman gets to keep his committee chairmanship because Obama has signaled that he wants him to.
All right. Well, now, in addition to the subject of staying, is Defense Secretary Gates staying? I mean, it seems to be like there are three options on this. None of the above, maybe 9 months or maybe 4 years. Where do we stand?
Well, I think from listening to what John Podesta had to say today at the transition briefing, they're going to send a very big and very focused investigative or transition team over to the Pentagon, as to all other agencies, to look and see where things stand there. The body language to me of what Podesta was saying today was that Gates shouldn't plan a long stay there. I think they're going to look carefully, and I think there are going to be some people critical of some of the ways things have been handled, and I think that report will determine Gates's fate. But Podesta was very careful not to say anything about Gates, which I took as not to be a great sign for the notion that he's going to be there months or let alone a year from now. And
lastly, and kind of briefly, about Podesta and these lobbying rules during the transition, is this really sending reverberations around a very small world in Washington? Is there a reason that anybody else should be very concerned about it?
Well, I think Washington is lobbyist, Keith.
Yeah.
It's a nice try on Podesta's part. I don't know how well it's going to work. It's like keeping the water from running downhill. They'll keep them out of the way for a while, but they run the innards of this place. And if Obama's going to get good advice on the lay of the land at these agencies, he's necessarily going to go to the people who've been in them before they came out to make money explaining them. That's not going to end. It's a question of whether Obama is vigilant about it, and he's certainly going to try.
Just apply a GPS to each one of them so we know where they are at all times. Howard Fineman of Newsweek at MSNBC.
Learning to play basketball, Keith.
Yeah. Oh, very good.
That's where they're going to be.
All right. Have a good night.
Okay.